convicted of serious crimes often exhibit a range of emotions in court, including shock, remorse, anger, and denial, while their families and the victims' families also express emotions and hope for justice. It's perplexing why people act shocked when they are convicted of a crime. Here are the reactions of dangerous criminals when facing their court sentences.
Man, I ain't gonna let you sit here and say that.
In a...
Selfish!
No, that's not happening.
Selfish!
Elis Nelson Ortiz-Nieves is a man from the state of Michigan, USA. He was convicted of the murder and abuse of 4-year-old Giovanni Mejias in June 2017 and was sentenced to life in prison. Giovanni Mejias was the son of his then-girlfriend, Sonia Hernandez. They began their relationship in December 2016, and Ortiz-Nieves later met Giovanni and Hernandez's other children. Ortiz-Nieves began to abuse Giovanni, and on June 13, 2017, Giovanni died due to that abuse. He was in a mobile home with 6 other children at the time of the attack. During Ortiz-Nieves' trial, the children testified in court that both Hernandez and Ortiz-Nieves had beaten, kicked, and used a whip on them. Ortiz-Nieves continued to deny his innocence, claiming that he did not abuse or harm Giovanni Mejias to death, but instead was trying to help him. Of course, he was lying, and the judge had sufficient evidence to convict him. Ortiz-Nieves was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. At this point, he became angry and used derogatory language towards those advocating for justice. Hernandez, the mother of the victim, was sentenced to 57 months to 10 years in prison for child abuse. Danta Wright, known for the murder of 18-year-old Jordan Klee in Ann Arbor, appeared in court for sentencing. Klee, a student at Pioneer High School, was found deceased near the Pine Lake Village Co-op. A maintenance worker discovered him with a gunshot wound lying on the road outside the apartment complex. Accomplices with Danta Wright included Delrino Gracie and Jermarius Ellison, all of whom were arrested. In the court, Wright's behavior was particularly inappropriate, as he was observed smiling while in court. This reaction was especially evident when Jordan Klee's mother was expressing her grief and loss over her son's death. She shared her profound sadness, noting the loss of laughter, love, and the hope of grandchildren, as well as the diminished joy during holidays, birthdays, and everyday life due to the loss of her beloved son. Wright's behavior in court was seen as extremely disrespectful and insensitive, especially given the seriousness of the situation and the presence of the grieving family of the victim. When Wright had the opportunity to speak for himself in court, he said that he just wanted to accept the defense and plea deal, and that he would be home soon. After nearly an hour's recess, the victim's family wanted the court to sentence Wright through the agreement so that they could move on and try to forgive Wright. The presiding judge reacted to Danta Wright's attitude, and eventually he was sentenced to 50 years in prison. A year later, his 2 accomplices, 19-year-old Jermarius Ellison and 18-year-old Delrino Gracie, were each sentenced to 15 to 40 years in prison at the Washtenaw County Trial Court. We continue to delve into the world of heinous criminals, even involving children. The heartbreaking case of Dylan Schumaker revolves around the murder of his girlfriend's 23-month-old son. On March 19, 2013, in Springville, New York, 16-year-old Dylan Schumaker was babysitting his girlfriend Ashley Smith's 2 young sons while she worked a shift at a restaurant. By the end of the night, the younger son, Austin, never woke up again. Schumaker was subsequently arrested and charged with the murder of Austin. He had to face trial and was convicted. During the trial, Schumaker admitted before the jury that he had slapped and physically restrained the toddler when the child spit out food and used profanity. He also confessed to slamming the child's head onto the floor, contributing to the severe consequences. A video clip capturing Schumaker crying during the trial in court went viral and appeared on YouTube. drawing public attention to his emotional state during the trial. The video became a focal point in discussions about the case, highlighting the complex and often conflicting emotions that people can experience in such legal proceedings. Schumaker cried during the verdict and said that he never intended to harm Austin and cared deeply for the child. However, Justice M. William Baller of the state Supreme Court called him a manipulator and deceiver for orchestrating tears from the jury and sentenced him to 25 years to life in prison for the death of the toddler who had just started walking. Stephen Braden Powell and the question mark. On a quiet night in the small town of Anderson, South Carolina, gunshots rang out from outside a house on West End Avenue, marking the end of the childhood of 11-year-old Janiyah Scott. Her 18-year-old sister and 11-year-old cousin also fell victim to the malicious gunfire, but luckily survived. The Anderson police, in their investigative efforts, quickly focused on Stephen Braden Powell, a 17-year-old teenager, who was later arrested in July 2019. He faced serious charges, including murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. At the trial, the judge decided to deny bail for Stephen Braden Powell, meaning he would be tried as an adult. However, the story didn't end there. A year later, a new development emerged when 21-year-old Desmond Bruton was also charged in the case. Bruton, transported from the Spartanburg County Detention Center to the Anderson City Jail, denied any involvement. "I send my condolences to the family, but I really had nothing to do with this case," he said. The Anderson community is still awaiting final answers as the court continues to process this complex case. Questions about the motive and details of the case remain unanswered. Are there additional suspects involved in this case? What is their true motive? We will provide updates as soon as there is a definitive conclusion from the authorities. Please remember to watch the entire video as you may miss any crazy videos in this bunch. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel to never miss the latest videos. Boston, a 20-year-old in Wilson County, Tennessee, faced simple marijuana possession charges in court. It wouldn't have been noteworthy if Boston had stood before Judge Haywood Berry and simply expressed his views on why wild hemp should be legalized. To emphasize his point, he reached into his coat and pulled out a marijuana joint. He then took out a matchbox and lit it. Boston quickly took a few puffs before security personnel realized what was happening. They detained Boston and escorted him out of the courtroom, Moore said. However, Boston wasn't finished. Before being let out, he turned back to the courtroom and declared, "People deserve better." Boston's message came at a cost. The Wilson County Sheriff's Office stated that Boston was charged with disorderly conduct and simple possession of marijuana. Berry also held him in contempt of court for this disrespectful act. This was also considered a legal violation. Boston had to spend 10 days in jail for contempt. Afterward, he was eligible to post a $3,000 bond. But the big question is, could this action set a bad precedent in society? How the media and the public react to this incident says something about society's attitude toward marijuana. Lindy Lamont Jones, at the time of the trial, 22 years old, was involved in a high-profile legal case related to the murder of Willie Antoine Fields. Jones pleaded guilty to the murder that occurred on August 2, 2019, and was sentenced to 35 years in prison for this crime. The case drew even more attention when Willie Clay Fields, the father of the victim, attacked Jones in front of the court. This happened while Jones was awaiting sentencing after pleading guilty. Willie Clay Fields' attack on Jones resulted in Fields facing charges of contempt of court, as well as assault and aggravated assault. The incident was captured on video, adding a dramatic twist to the already tragic story of the case. The severity of the sentence for Jones reflects the gravity of his crime, while the reaction of the victim's father underscores the profound emotional impact such cases can have on the families of those involved.